When I first became a parent, I remember reading that up to 15% of children have significant behavioral challenges by the time they reach school age, and I found myself terrified by the idea that my child might struggle in ways I couldn't understand. The concept of decoding my child's behavior felt foreign to me, yet I soon realized how essential it was. Another fact caught my eye during one of my late-night research sessions. Around 1 in 6 children aged 2 to 8 years has a diagnosed mental, behavioral, or developmental disorder. These statistics can seem distant and impersonal until you're holding a screaming child at 2 a.m., wondering where you went wrong. The reality hits. An emotional journey begins. My son, Jamie, was unlike any other child I'd encountered, full of boundless energy and an uncontainable spirit. At first, I saw his independence as a sign of strength, but as he grew older, his behavior became harder to manage. He didn't seem to process discipline in the same way other children did. Words like no and stop seemed to roll off him without effect, and he had this incredible ability to keep pushing boundaries, no matter how exhausted I felt. I began noticing Jamie's attention span was much shorter than other children his age, and he often became frustrated over the simplest things, like when his toy car wouldn't move in a straight line or when he couldn't put his shoes on by himself. I convinced myself that he was just going through a phase. But deep down, I sensed something more was happening. Every parent expects some level of tantrums and meltdowns, but Jamie's were different. He would scream for hours sometimes, as if something deep inside was hurting him. It shattered my heart to see him in that state, his face flushed red, his little fists clenched in frustration. And as much as I tried, I couldn't reach him. It felt like he was a million miles away, isolated in his own world, and I was powerless to bring him back. I became nervous, constantly on edge, wondering when the next meltdown would occur. It wasn't just at home, either. Taking Jamie out in public became a nightmare. Grocery stores, playgrounds, even simple family gatherings turned into battle zones. Strangers would stare, some with pity, others with judgment. I remember one particularly bad day when I took Jamie to the store. He wanted a specific snack, and when I said we couldn't get it, he began to scream, louder and louder, until his voice echoed off the walls. I could feel every pair of eyes on me as I tried to calm him down, but nothing worked. I felt like I was failing as a parent, and shame began to weigh on me, an invisible anchor dragging me down. In those moments, all I could think about was how deeply I was struggling to understand Jamie. I was drowning in self-doubt. Why couldn't I calm him down? Why didn't he respond to my hugs, my attempts to soothe him? The world around us became smaller, quieter, as I withdrew, afraid to take him anywhere for fear of another public breakdown. It felt as though I was losing my child, like I couldn't reach him, no matter how hard I tried. The isolation was suffocating. Questioning myself, doubt and guilt, then came the guilt. I would lie awake at night, replaying every difficult moment, every outburst. I questioned my parenting constantly, wondering if there was something wrong with me. Maybe if I were more patient, or better at this, Jamie wouldn't struggle as he did. I read countless articles on behavioral challenges in children, trying to understand what was happening, but all I could find were technical explanations. None of it felt real or connected to the overwhelming, raw emotions I was experiencing. I wanted answers, but more than that, I wanted to know how to connect with Jamie. Every day felt like a battle, and I was losing, not just with Jamie, but with myself. My friends and family offered advice, well-meaning but hollow. He'll grow out of it. You just need to be more firm. Maybe he just needs more structure. Each suggestion felt like a reminder of my inadequacy, and I would walk away from these conversations feeling even more defeated. I needed someone to understand, someone who had been through the same struggle, but instead, I felt like I was drowning alone in a sea of advice that didn't help me understand my child. The breaking point, when desperation peaks. The lowest point came one evening when Jamie had been particularly difficult all day. I was exhausted, both physically and emotionally. He was running around the house, ignoring every word I said, every attempt I made to calm him down. Finally, in frustration, I yelled at him, really yelled. The look in his eyes broke me. He stopped, stared at me, his little face crumpling as tears filled his eyes. In that moment, I saw the hurt I was causing, and it shattered me. I sank to the floor and cried, holding him as he sobbed in my arms. I felt like I had failed him in the worst possible way. How could I claim to love my child when I couldn't even understand him? The weight of my struggles became unbearable that night. I felt like I was losing myself in this endless cycle of frustration and guilt. The isolation, the exhaustion, the self-doubt, it all came crashing down on me. I had reached a point where I wasn't sure if I could go on like this. I was desperate for change, for something to help me understand Jamie, to help me be the parent he needed. The journey was emotionally draining, and I wasn't sure if I had the strength to keep going. The emotional toll on relationships and daily life. Jamie's behavior didn't just affect me, it affected everyone around us. My relationship with my partner began to suffer. We would argue constantly, both of us frustrated and exhausted, neither of us knowing what to do. I felt like I was failing my family, like I was dragging everyone down with me. I remember watching my friends with their children, seeing how calm and happy they seemed, and feeling a pang of jealousy mixed with guilt. Why couldn't I have that? Why did everything feel like a constant struggle? Even simple tasks, like cooking dinner or getting Jamie ready for bed, became monumental challenges. I would watch other parents with their children, seemingly handling similar situations with ease, and it would break my heart. I would lie awake at night, wondering if I was doing something wrong, if there was something wrong with me that made this so difficult. The guilt and self-blame became overwhelming, until it felt like I was carrying the weight of the world on my shoulders. Reflecting on the pain and the need for change. Looking back on those days, I realized how deeply lost I was. I was a parent, but I felt like a stranger in my own life, disconnected from my child, from myself, and from the world around me. Each day felt like a battle I wasn't equipped to fight, and I had no idea how to find the tools I needed. As I sat on the floor that night, holding Jamie, I realized that I couldn't keep living in this cycle of frustration, shame, and confusion. I needed help, and I needed to make changes, not only for Jamie but also for myself. The journey to understanding him started that night with a simple, almost desperate, commitment to try something different. I knew I had to start somewhere small and steady, and the first step was to let go of the need for instant answers and accept that understanding my child might take time. One of the first practical things I tried was keeping a behavior journal. Each day, I would write down moments that were difficult for Jamie, jotting down what triggered his frustration, what time it happened, and even my own reactions. I quickly realized that some situations triggered him more than others, like transitions from one activity to another or instances when he felt overwhelmed by noise or crowds. This small step, capturing these moments on paper, showed me that there was more to his behavior than just acting out. I began to see patterns emerge, which helped me feel less lost and more in tune with his needs. I also took time to learn about emotional regulation, a concept that felt as foreign as it was necessary. In those days, I came across tips and methods, such as using breathing exercises for kids and creating a calm-down corner at home. Setting up a space with soft pillows, a few favorite toys, and calming visuals turned into our sanctuary. When Jamie would get overwhelmed, I could guide him there gently, and I could see the beginnings of a new kind of connection forming. I began to understand that he wasn't trying to push me away, he was simply overwhelmed, and this small act of creating a safe space for him was our first bridge. As I continued learning, I realized how much impact my own emotional responses had on Jamie. When I began practicing mindfulness in parenting, I saw changes in myself that naturally influenced him. Every time I felt myself about to snap, I would take a moment, breathe deeply, and remind myself that my calmness could help anchor Jamie's emotions. Staying present in those moments with him and responding instead of reacting transformed our interactions. One morning, after a particularly tough night, I made the decision to find professional support. Through online research, I found a counselor specializing in child behavior and emotional challenges, and it felt like a lifeline. She walked me through methods for positive reinforcement and how to use empathy-based responses effectively. For the first time, I had guidance that felt practical and empowering. She taught me to approach Jamie's behavior from a place of curiosity rather than judgment, and over time, this shift helped me break through those walls I'd felt trapped behind for so long. Our sessions helped me understand why Jamie would lash out and what his responses meant. Through these conversations, I learned about using play therapy techniques that allowed Jamie to express emotions he struggled to put into words. We would play out situations that frustrated him, giving him a way to experience control in a safe environment. To my amazement, his meltdowns began to lessen, and his anxiety seemed to ease. The difference was life-changing, not only for Jamie but also for me as a parent. Every small victory we shared together filled me with a hope I hadn't felt in years. Then there was the support I found through online communities focused on child behavior challenges. I joined forums where other parents shared their stories and struggles, and for the first time, I felt like I wasn't alone. Parents who had walked similar paths shared ideas on effective parenting techniques and strategies for managing challenging child behavior. Being part of that community gave me strength. Every story I read, every tip I learned helped me create a roadmap for the way forward. Another simple yet powerful change I made was adjusting our daily routines. Instead of scheduling numerous activities, I set up consistent times for meals, play, and rest. Creating predictable routines and using visual schedules for kids allowed Jamie to know what to expect next, which reduced his anxiety and helped him feel more in control. Our mornings, once full of chaotic energy, became calm routines where Jamie could rely on our rhythm to guide him through his day. I saw how much he thrived with these routines, and this small structure brought a sense of peace I had once thought impossible. As Jamie and I grew together through these methods, I became more aware of the power of positive affirmations. Each time Jamie faced a difficult moment, I would encourage him, celebrating even the smallest progress. I remember when he managed to put his shoes on by himself after many failed attempts. Instead of focusing on the struggle it took to get there, I praised his persistence. Over time, I watched his confidence grow, and the moments that once brought him to tears began to pass with smiles and self-assurance. But despite the progress, there were still hard days where all the tools in the world didn't seem enough. It was in these moments that I realized the importance of self-care. If I was going to be the steady presence Jamie needed, I had to take care of myself too. I started finding moments in the day for small acts of self-care, walking outside, journaling, even just breathing deeply when the stress felt like too much. Learning to forgive myself for the tough days, understanding that I was doing my best, became essential to the journey. The final, transformative shift came when I stumbled upon Decoding Your Child, Understand Their Behavior and Respond with Empathy. This book opened up perspectives I hadn't considered, teaching me not only about Jamie's behavior but also about the parent-child connection. It showed me how to step into Jamie's shoes and see the world through his eyes, an approach that completely changed the way I interacted with him. I remember reading about responsive parenting techniques and feeling like I had found a key to the communication gap between us. The book's gentle guidance on empathy-based parenting helped me embrace the challenges as stepping stones rather than setbacks. Today, my relationship with Jamie is one of understanding and mutual respect. Every day is a chance to grow together, and I owe so much of this journey to the insights I found within the pages of Decoding Your Child, Understand Their Behavior and Respond with Empathy. For any parent facing similar struggles, I encourage you to grab a copy of this book. The digital version is available at librify.com, just follow the link in the description. The compassion, patience, and tools within it transformed my experience as a parent, guiding me through the darkest moments into a place of hope and connection with my child.